Approximately 30% of all boating accidents are caused by alcohol use. The TWRA makes it a top priority to get intoxicated boat operators off the water. Alcohol and boating do not mix. Always choose a designated boat operator. On this episode of Tennessee Outdoor Journal, the Tennessee Herpetological Society hosts an annual meeting in Murfreesboro, then sets out to put their hands on some reptiles and amphibians just 'cause it's fun. Next, we'll travel to the Buffalo River in Wayne County. TWRA officers keep an eye out, making sure everybody is safe while having fun on the water. Then we'll head to Normandy Lake, where the TWRA Reservoir crew are sampling bass and crappie. And let me tell you, they're catching some monster bass today. Next, we'll have a duck drawing and Old Hickory WMA update. Duck season will be here before you know it.
It puddles up pretty good right here in this one spot.
Then we'll go to get a kayak education. What to do if you fall out of your boat, how to save yourself and somebody else. And finally, what is race training? Exterior response to active shooter event. TWRA officers learn how to handle the worst case scenario. Tennessee Outdoor Journal is opening the cover and inviting you in for a behind-the-scenes look at the work being done every day by your Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency. Let's turn the page. What kind of legacy will we leave when our days upon this earth are gone? Tell me who will carry on this work that we've begun, care enough to be the keeper of the dream. Thanks for joining us on this episode of Tennessee Outdoor Journal. Our first story, herpetology, amphibians and reptiles.
Each year, the Tennessee Herpetological Society hosts an annual meeting in one of the grand divisions of the state, either East, Middle, or West Tennessee. On the last day, we like to take a field trip.
He just keeps going back and forth.
We're here at Flat Rock State Natural Area, just off of Middle Tennessee State University campus. Herpetologists like to look under rocks and logs and things like that because that's where a lot of the amphibians and reptiles will be found. Tennessee is very diverse when you include turtles and lizards and snakes for reptiles, and then amphibians, the salamanders. The mountains in East Tennessee are some of the most diverse areas in the United States for amphibians. And this year, the meeting was held in Middle Tennessee at Middle Tennessee State University.
So North Carolina, all their survey hours they did for, again, primarily elevators.
Basically what this meeting is all the herpetologists and biologists from across the state, federal agencies, research institutions come together and give the results of the research that they're conducting throughout the state on amphibians and reptiles. And so it allows the members and people interested across the state, gives them an idea of what's going on in regards to research and work related to amphibians and reptiles. There are times through the networking and getting the researchers together, various projects are born through discussions that happen before, after, and during the meeting. And so you'll see projects from time to time come out of those discussions.
This is a black king snake, or common king snake, sometimes it's called.
The biggest thing is going to be changing in habitat, whether that's through climate change, as we've seen today in one of the talks, how changing climate may impact salamander species at different elevations. But habitat loss affects several different species of amphibians and reptiles, as well as other species of wildlife.
Next up, do you have a life jacket?
We're on the Buffalo River in Wayne County. Just a typical detail we do and have been doing for several years, just random weekends. For the most people, it's probably just a getaway and enjoy what you see out here, because it's a beautiful river to float this. You know, there's 2 different floats in Wayne County, total 18 miles. It's a beautiful river to get out and to enjoy. When we do these, we're looking for several different things: boating regulations, boating safety, life jackets, making sure kids under 13 have life jackets on, checking fishermen, folks fishing, and then anything else we see, drugs, littering, alcohol, things like that, we take care of those as well.
You got 2 in your boat there? All right, thank you guys, appreciate it. Have a good day.
This is the Herpetological River. We're right above the narrows of the Herpetological at the state park. It's where the majority of them take out. Here today we've set up just a general inspection station. We typically just look if we can see people's life jackets. We really don't even have to say anything to them because we're fairly close to them. If we don't see it, we'll call them over to the bank and ask for it. If they don't have one, we can issue them an appropriate one. We do write citations for it. We don't write warnings for life jackets, whether that's meaning they don't have enough, or if it's 12 and under, juveniles have to wear it while they're underway. We're out here to be seen too on the enforcement side of it. A lot of that cuts down on a lot of other issues we have on people on private gravel bars. A lot of people think they can get out and party up, or they end up trashing up the place, and technically when they get off the waterway, they're on private property, whether they're in the middle of Robertson County on the Red River, or right here as we are in near Pegram on the Herpetological River here in Cheatham County.
A lot of people are happy that we're out here and like to see us out here to keep it a lot calmer than what it, occasionally there's fights out here and different things like that, and that's one of the things we're trying to prevent.
Whether it's a personal or a rental, the biggest thing is having a life jacket of appropriate size for the person aboard, and that applies to public waters on Tennessee waterways. So the only sole thing you're required to have is a life jacket, and if you're 12 and under, you're required to wear it as you're underway. That is the biggest thing, and I encourage everybody to wear it.
Looking for life jackets today. You guys got life jackets in the boat with you?
Small river sports, paddle sports are it's a bigger thing. There's more and more people every year that enjoy it. Come out, enjoy it, have a good time. There's a lot of good fishing to be had too. Just like I said, just be mindful of private landowners and the other public that you're using the water with.
Our next story takes us on a field trip, Normandy bass and crappie sampling.
Well, we've been doing this for years. We do the same sites. It just gives us a reference on our fish population, basically. So we're going to focus on the lower end today. Well, today we're at Normandy Reservoir, and we're part of a 3-man crew, a reservoir crew. And what we do, we help to manage the reservoirs, the local reservoirs around Middle Tennessee. We're out doing a bass survey. We're looking for black bass and crappie. To do that, we're utilizing an electrofishing boat, and generates a bunch of electricity, and we put it in the water, and it stuns the fish. It's good. This particular survey is good for black bass and crappie because during this time they move up to spawn and they move into shallow waters. With the electrofishing boat, we can only get so deep, so we're kind of limited in range, typically about 12 to 15 feet out and down.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. We go out here and we catch a bunch of big bass, and that's always a lot of fun. It's real exciting, but really the smaller fish too are what we're going after. We're going for a variety of sizes, so we like to see those young fish too. That just helps us to know that they're in here and they're reproducing, they're doing good, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. So we're not just out here looking for big fish, we're out here looking for all sizes.
458.
This helps us get our numbers in, and if we're low on a particular species of fish, we'll send that to the hatchery and they'll do their calculations so they'll know what fish to put in what lakes. Normandy is one of our lakes that you wouldn't think. It's a good fishing lake, and there's really good quality fish. You might not catch a ton of them, but the ones you catch are going to be some decent size. It's one of those lakes that it's out and about, I guess, and not many people know about it. So it doesn't get as much pressure as, say, Tim's Ford or Woods. But it is definitely, it surprises me every time. We see some great, huge fish. You know, it's always exciting to see. So big crappie, largemouth, there's spots in here, there's good sized smallmouth, and it's got a good walleye population as well. So it's a good, productive lake, it really is.
Let's learn about duck drawing and an Old Hickory update.
This weekend, Saturday, the duck drawing is taking place, and in Region 2 you got 4 different areas. You probably already know which area you're going to go to, but we have Haynes Bottom, they're going to be having drawing out there. Cheatham's going to have the drawing right there at the check station. Morris Ferry, boat ramp for AEDC, and of course out at the Wilson County Fairgrounds for the Old Hickory Wildlife Management Area. And I've got Michael Boble here with me. He is the manager for Old Hickory. And Michael, tell me, what should people know about coming out to the duck draw this year that they probably didn't have to know in years past?
Yeah, the last few years we've had license sales available there for people who you know, might be missing some kind of a license or their WMA permit or something. We're not going to have any kind of license sales, but with the TWRA app and Walmart just 10 minutes away, it's real quick and easy to get your license. So, but we did want to go ahead and mention that to everybody to make sure that, be prepared that there won't be any license sales at this year's duck blind drawing for Old Hickory, or Cheatham for that matter. There won't be license sales at Cheatham either. So.
You got to know what you need. So what do they need?
Okay, as far as the license requirement for just to draw, you have to have, for the majority of the people, it's going to include either the Type 01, which is the combo hunt and fish, with the Type 91 WMA small game and waterfowl. If you don't have that, you can have the 04, which is the annual sportsman license, or the lifetime license. For senior citizens, you have to have the Type 166 or the 164 senior citizens license, plus a Type 91 or a Type 167 resident annual senior sportsman license. And then for non-residents, you have to have the Type 71 or 73 with the Type 91. An age limit, you have to be 16 or older to put in for it. You don't have to have your federal duck stamp or your migratory bird for the drawing, but it is required for hunting. There's no limit of sign-ons, but for adults, you can only have a maximum number of 8 adult hunters while you're hunting in the blind, but you can have unlimited number of juveniles.
I'm looking at a sea of green this year. How is this year gone?
Well, we've been fortunate and had dry weather, so we really wanted to work the fields down, because over the past few years we hadn't had a whole lot of a big window to really work the fields good. So we wanted to make sure we got them good and level this year and make a really good seed bed so we would have a good crop. Plus we were able to put the fertilizer to it too. So, you know, a good tilled ground with good fertilizer and the right weather, I mean, we can make just as good a crop as anybody. Another thing that hunters need to be aware of is when you draw a blind and you're out doing work on your blind, brushing your blind, making a hole for your decoys. You know, when they go out there to do that, all this crop is going to be a lot more mature, so the heads are going to be almost at the right stage. If it has ears of corn or mature heads of milo, and that goes along with millet too, that you remove this completely out of the hole, you got to carry it out with you. I know there was a blind at Cheatham last year. They mowed a bunch of millet in front of their blind. They had to close that blind for most of the season last year, so we don't want that to happen on Old Hickory. So just remember, if when you're out there putting your decoys out and you're clearing the hole, remember all your seed heads, ears of corn, that has to be completely removed and carried off the area. Now you can use the stalks, you know, if you want to put some brush on the blind. Just remember the ears of corn, heads of milo's got to be removed. that we're in the lower end of, or the lower end of the 20s. 24 normally sits right there, but it's burned. 25 is down there. And this is the lower end of the pond here. So when we get a rain, it puddles up pretty good right here in this one spot. But right after we planted it, everything was a little slower coming out of the ground because the ground had so much moisture in it. If you look on this plant right here, the leaves are kind of curled up. It's just because the corn just does not like moisture. And if you come over here to this milo right here, which we're in the same elevation, you can see how thick it's got good roots. This is a real healthy plant, and it's in the same wet soil, and it was up probably 2 weeks before the corn. Now the corn's starting to come up, and once the corn comes up, corn grows a little faster than milo. Sometimes you can hear corn growing at night. That's how fast corn grows. So, you know, and there's the same technique was used here as it was where we were just at, where 17, 18, and 19 was, where the corn is up above my head, already tasseled out. All this right here was planted 5 days after that, and you can see how much of a difference wet ground versus drier ground works. That wet ground, that moisture in the ground, it stunts it.
So that's about it from Old Hickory. If you're coming to a duck blind drawing, make sure you know which one you're going to and check the address. Know which licenses you need before you get there. We said it in this video, but you can also check on our website at tnwildlife.org, or you can check on our Facebook page. Michael, anything else people need to know about coming out to the drawing?
We start signing people up at 7. We sign people up from 7 to 10 o'clock. We start the drawing promptly at 10 o'clock. You know, if it's 9:59 and there's still 2 or 3 people that was still in line prior to 10 o'clock, we'll kind of wait on those people to finish up, make sure they get their names in the barrel. We'll pull the barrel up and we'll close everything at pretty much 10 o'clock, and we'll have a few announcements, and then we'll get right into the drawing.
Okay, and at Old Hickory, you're drawing for 2 units?
Well, there's 2 separate drawings. Make sure you know which unit you want to. This unit that has all the row crops, the corn and the milo, is unit 1. Unit 2 is the downstream. There's no food down there. It's just dock ducks down there. So, you know, if you want to kill wild ducks or dock ducks, you got to make that choice now.
Truthfully, I mean, as a wildlife manager and working out here, you got to be excited about this.
Yeah, I am. Because, you know, I've only been the manager. This is my 3rd year, so the first 2 years were practically washouts because of the weather. So, you know, this is the first really good growing season that we had a chance to put in a good crop, and as you can see, we did.
Next up, a kayak education.
I've never fallen out of my, I spent 5 years trying not to fall out of my boat, and all of a sudden I fell out of my boat. Now what do I do?
Today is focused on recreational kayakers.
I've got 5 different ways that I can get back in my boat by myself.
I want to feel more comfortable in my kayak. I want to be able to know I can go out on water and save myself and maybe help somebody else.
Well, Tennessee Scenic Rivers Association, they've been around for 50 years, and their mission is conservation through recreation. And that encompasses a whole lot of things. It's a lot about recreation, but it's also the conservation of natural resources. So while there's a lot of fun things like trips that they plan and lead, and schools like this, there are schools for both skills as well as safety for all different types of levels, but there's also a conservation component to it where they're trying to protect access to the natural resources of Tennessee.
I got involved with TWRA back in the spring. I took their basic kayaking course. It was great. In fact, one of the instructors is here today and really turned me on to that. Went out and bought a kayak, and here I am today. Wanted to learn a little more, want to be safe for myself and help others on the water if need be.
Well, these are mostly recreational paddlers, and they paddle a lot on flat waters, and today's focus is on lakes. My 3rd slide, it showed a picture of a life jacket, and I started off with, if you get nothing else out of this today, and the top caption was, wear your life jacket. And at the bottom I said, thank you all for coming. It's that important. So stressing that, and as far as the why, things happen really fast in the water. I gave them the experience of being out here. There's probably an 8 or 9 mile-an-hour wind. If you're in the water, you're submerged. The only thing out of the water and feeling that wind is my head. My boat is 14 feet long. It's going to catch a lot of wind. Before you know it, your boat's going to be out of reach. That's why you wear your life jacket. It buys you time. The other thing that we tell them, it's don't be selfish. Because if I need to rescue you, you have made it much more dangerous for me if you're not wearing a life jacket. And you've made it much more dangerous for everybody in the group. So there's two components there, personal as well as group dynamics. And hopefully that message came through loud and clear. So today, the first thing we're going to do is get them out of their boat. So we're going to teach them some rescue skills. There are 5 different options that I know how to do to get myself back in my boat. We're giving them a goal of find one that works for you and your equipment. So rescue yourself. And then since people paddle a lot in communities, what do you do if your friend comes out of the boat? So we're doing assisted rescue skills, and I've set the challenge that each of them take away the ability that if they're paddling with somebody and they come out of their boat, can you get them back in their boat and get them safe? Part of the problem is when people fall in an emergency situation, they're somewhat disoriented by it. They're startled. We're going to give them some strategies and the experience of having fallen out of their boat here before it's a real live situation. So at least okay, I've been here before. I know what this is like. I know what to do. So if they ever do have an incident where they come out of their boat or a friend comes out of a boat, they're kind of over that initial reaction of fear and confusion. The TSRA has seen an increase in the demand for water safety and rescue training, and you look at the headlines that you can find once, twice, 3 times a week, and there is still a need for it. And when we started these classes geared towards recreational boaters last year and sold every one of them out. So we're expanding our ability to reach out and connect people to these training resources. It's very important that we continue to be an advocate for safety training, and we're expanding our efforts in that area all the time.
I'm a little anxious, but I've told myself come down here to learn, try your best, and you'll go back home with something. So that's my attitude about today.
Oh, Lord. I can't believe I did it.
We'll finish this episode today with a story about erase training.
This is called erase training. It's exterior response to an active shooter event.
Well, so an active shooter is anybody, whether it be indoors or outdoors, that's actively engaged in shooting somebody or something.
This is fairly new stuff. We've been doing it for the last 2 or 3 in-services.
So from that point, it's on whatever happens in front of you, whether it's a guy jumping out of a car, jumping out of a bush, whatever it is.
There are things happening out there today, lots of active shooter events that are happening. And other agencies are doing this, so we're trying to do exactly what they're doing so that we all are on the same page when we come to a situation possibly.
You're going to pull up, just assist a broke down motorist, okay? So just pull up normally like you would working, just however you would pull up to somebody in your county working, and then go from there.
You know, the officer pulls up to a truck somewhere, doesn't know anything about it, just sees this truck. As soon as the officer gets there and puts it in park, I immediately get out and engage the officer with my pistol.
It's very hard to get people in a stressful situation and use a firearm. Of course, it's not the safest thing to do if you're using a real firearm, so we're using these simunition rounds, but the pistols are the exact same look and feel that we carry every day. The rifles are the same. So we want them to get used to using those in a situation without having to actually use real rounds.
I think it's as close to real life as we can get. Having these rounds fling back at you, and they do hurt. They will bring blood if they hit bare skin. I think it's as real as it gets. And we ride down the road, and like you said, we may see a deer hunter or what we think's a hunter off in the wood. This is the place we work all the time. So if something happened outside in the exterior, in the woods, in the fields, whatever, then we're probably going to be involved in it.
These scenarios are actually designed to just to do work pretty much, and to learn how to use those tactics that we've taught them in the regions and during classroom instruction. It's not a win or lose situation. Of course, we want them to win in the end if this were to happen, but it's not a I got shot or she got shot or he got shot type deal. It's more of a did you do work, and did you do what you needed to do at that time.
Good job, except he's down on the ground and the weapon's still right there. All right, you know he's down. Something you could do. You can either do one or two things.
And that's one of the first things we'll ask them. Well, how did it go? What'd you do good? What'd you do bad? Or what did you do that you would change next time? And they will come up with things on their own. And then we may point out something. Well, what about thinking about doing this?
If, God forbid, this should happen in real life, they've got a little something to pull from as far as experience, where had they not done this, they're just winging it. And then they may not think they even learned anything today, but I guarantee you they did, because they'll have this in the back of their mind should the situation arise in real life.
The end game, we're just looking and making sure that they're going to come home and be safe and have some extra tools in the tool belt to be able to do that.
One of these days this is going to happen to us. We're going to be involved in it. We're going to be driving down the road and hear something on the radio that says one of our guys or some other police officer has been shot, and we got to help. That's just our moral duty. And our guys now have the training and they have the confidence to react to something that they're confronted with.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Tennessee Outdoor Journal. We'll see you next time. Tennessee Outdoor Journal is produced by your Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency. Tell me who will carry on this work that we've begun. Care enough to be the keeper of the dream. This legacy, our legacy.
Hi, I'm Charlie Daniels. When I was a kid, I loved baseball and football and all kind of stuff, but my favorite pastime was when my daddy would get me up early in the morning, we'd go hunting or fishing. Out in the fresh air on the water or back in the woods, and you learn a lot. You got kids, take them hunting, take them fishing. Join me, buy a hunting or fishing license. Let's keep wildlife in Tennessee. That's a doggone good thing.
Buy your license today at GoOutdoorsTennessee.com.
Hi, I'm Tracy Lawrence, just letting you know that the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency supports itself and manages all of the state's wildlife with the dollars invested by hunters and fishermen when they buy licenses. If you've never bought a license, but appreciate the abundant wildlife we enjoy in this state, I encourage you to do it. Start with the Type 01. It's a great investment in Tennessee wildlife. Learn more at tnwildlife.org.
Buy your license today at GoOutdoorsTennessee.com.